Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Sunday morning to you all. Hope you guys are doing well out there this morning and having a wonderful start to your day and a great weekend out there so far. We got a lot to discuss in this morning's video, and the first thing we'll talk about is updated information from the overnight into this morning's model guidance regarding this winter storm for areas of not only the south, but up against the Gulf coastline. Florida, like the panhandle of Florida is going to get snow. Some pretty wild stuff. Very rare, maybe even a historic storm for some folks. So we're going to speak a lot on that at the beginning of the video. It'll be broken up for the South Central timestamp, and really we'll just focus in on Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi, and then there'll be a southeastern portion of that, which that'll be Alabama, Florida, it'll be Georgia and the Carolinas and surrounding states. So we'll get very detailed with you guys. There's been some changes, and for some, it's about the same. For others, not the best news, and that includes my neck of the woods. But we're going to get through this, and we're going to see what's going on. And I say not the best news for winter weather fans. Not everybody's a winter weather fan. Some people don't like it at all, but of course I love it. I'm very passionate about it. But we're going to talk about what we know. We'll break it all down. I'll kind of provide some hope, if you will, but it's, at the same time, I'll keep things real with you guys, just like I always do. And then for the second half of the video, we will give you updated information on this winter storm for the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast. I do apologize for leaving you guys hanging with that last night, but we'll give you one last big update on that this morning, and then, it'll be pretty much be verification time after that. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it, and if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put it in the comments below. Asking for some prayers for my little girl. My youngest girl woke up sick this morning, and I've kind of been under the weather too, which has been tough because I've been having to fight the sickness, and then at the same time, been trying to pump out all these videos and just trying to provide energy for that. But it hasn't been bad enough to kind of kick me in the butt too bad, but certainly has been there. And yes, I'm just asking for prayers for that. So let's get rocking and rolling this morning. So let's check out what's going on. So I love weather-wise. They're a phenomenal site, but they have all the watches, warnings, and advisories blended together. It kind of blends all the colors together. So I'm going to click on a couple areas. First off, we have winter storm watches as far back as San Antonio, Texas. Now, these will probably get upgraded to winter storm warnings sometime today into tonight. We even have a winter storm watches all the way down here, deep down in Texas. Now, the criteria of weather to hit a winter storm warning or even a winter weather advisory is much lower down here, like 1/10 of an inch of ice, stuff like that. But Houston, winter storm watch, you end up getting winter storm warnings. You go all the way up here. How far north do they go? Well, it looks like College Station, for example, in Texas is kind of like the northern extent of this. Once you get north of that into Waco, the Dallas-Fort Worth area, not saying you aren't going to get any winter weather, but there's no winter storm watches right now. Winter storm watches extend all the way to just south of Shreveport. Does include the rest of Louisiana, the far northern counties of Louisiana, no winter storm watches. They do include Jackson, so up to the I-20 corridor meridian, and certainly point south. The Bayou of Louisiana, all including this. And kind of the new information we got here is we have winter storm watches. And if you look really closely, you see kind of the difference between this color and that color. That is where your winter storm watches are. So Birmingham's right here. You have extreme cold warnings. It is going to be cold. That's another storyline that we've kind of put in the back burner, right? Just because we've been focusing in a lot on the winter weather. Got a sneeze coming. All right. I think it went away. Maybe not. All right. I'm sorry, guys. I'm human. Gonna sneeze. But Montgomery, winter storm watches all the way down to Mobile. And they do extend all the way into sections of the panhandle of Florida. So, pretty wild stuff, very uncommon, and I expect some of these winter storm watches to be extended even into southern areas of Georgia. We have winter storm watches up into central Georgia. And heck, even a winter storm watch has been issued for Atlanta. All the way up here to like Gainesville. This is north of Atlanta. But they do not extend into the Carolinas just yet. I do expect them to extend like into Savannah, the low country of South Carolina, maybe as far north as the Midlands of South Carolina sometime today. But this is when things get a little, not a little, but there's a big question mark. So moving past that, we have winter storm warnings in this pink color stretching across the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast, but we're not going to break that down like we just did for the South. This is happening for you guys. You have a winter storm on the way. But let's talk about the South Central U.S. first. And we're going to talk about, Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. I mean, that's about the only states we're going to break down here. And I know it's cutting off Louisiana and Mississippi. I'm going to show you guys as we go. So the latest Euro, what does it show? It shows what it's pretty much shown over the last couple of days. It's showing the blue is the snow. This is getting into the wee hours of the morning, Tuesday morning. The freezing rain's in the pink. The orange is the sleet. Just wintry weather down here. We got snow moving into Houston. And it could mix with a little bit. I think once you get west of Houston, southwest of Houston, I think you'll start to get into like a wintry mix here in the pink and the orange. But this is mainly snow in Houston. How far north does this moisture get up? I mean, could it make it all the way up to the Dallas-Fort Worth area? It could. It could. That's the thing we're going to be watching. I'm going to mention this many times in this video. The moisture shield, it's not a cold air issue. For some, it might be. But the moisture shield, how far north does it get? It's a big question. Big question. And unfortunately, I think it's a question that's not going to be answered until we start to see the moisture on radar for a lot of areas. But anyways, we keep going. We get into Tuesday morning. I mean, we got an all-out snowstorm ongoing in Houston for the South Standards. We keep going. The snow continues to be heavy. This is midday Tuesday. I mean, that is heavy snow over Houston, Galveston. I mean, Corpus Christi getting snow. I mean, it's just unreal stuff, right? I mean, you don't typically see this kind of stuff. And here we are. And then we start to make our way into Tuesday afternoon. Now, let's go on and look at Louisiana for the same thing. And here we are. Snow starting to move into Louisiana by late Monday night into Tuesday morning. And then by the time we're into Tuesday morning, it's taken over a good chunk of the state. Now, you see this. I mean, this is a brutal cutoff for winter weather fans. So Shreveport's right into here. The Arklatek, Jackson's right into here. I mean, there is a nasty cutoff of snow, accumulating snow, and nothing. But no doubt, it looks like the southern half of Louisiana, yes, I'm saying that, you're hearing that correctly. The southern half of Louisiana is going to get heavy snow. This is midday Tuesday. Not only is it snowing in these areas, folks, it's snowing into the 20s. Just crazy historic type stuff. Snowing on the Gators and the Bayou. It's just crazy stuff. It really is. And we get into Tuesday afternoon. It's snowing over the entire southern half of Mississippi. It's snowing over Gulfport, Biloxi. It's snowing over Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Thibodaux, Houma, all the Lake Charles. And by the time we're starting to get into late Tuesday night, this begins to taper off for just about everybody. Okay, and then it heads on out. What about the GFS? It's not a whole lot different. It shows a lot more mixing, and it does show more cold air for areas for the south. For example, you're getting into a wintry mix pretty far south. I'm going to show you a graphic for you areas way down here, and it shows more so a lot of heavy sleet for Houston. Sleet's in the orange, blue's the snow, but eventually you guys do switch to snow, like in Houston. And once again, it's the same common thing, right? There's a sharp cutoff between, moisture and no moisture. And somebody's going to be on the dry side of that in Texas. But who's it going to be? Like I said, I just don't think we're going to know an answer to that until, the moisture starts popping up on radar, unfortunately. It's a tough, incredibly difficult forecast. And, man, I tell you, I'm sure that the local Mets, the National Weather Service, on your TV, are having a tough time with this. But you keep on going, and this heads off into Louisiana. Speaking of Louisiana, we'll do the same thing like we did with the Euro. We'll back this up a little bit. And here it comes. The cutoff north to south is even sharper. It's further south. The GFS has been on the southern mode of model guidance for like 2 days now. It lost the storm a couple days ago and has not came back. Now, it hasn't completely lost it, but once upon a time, the GFS was showing all the way up here in southern Arkansas. It keeps this thing as just a Gulf Coast rider. And this is very heavy snow, where it is snowing Lake Charles into Baton Rouge, New Orleans. And you might deal with some mixing along the coastline Tuesday afternoon. Look at the heavy snow moving into southern Mississippi. Where is the cutoff going to be? Is it going to be up into Jackson? Is it going to be Meridian? You guys do have the winter storm watch calling for a couple inches of snow. And then this is Tuesday evening. It's snowing, and then it begins to taper off. And it's done. So, what about like the NAM? What is it showing? Let's just move quicker. The NAM is a little bit further north, but I'll be honest. The NAM, for my folks on the northern side of the storm, has ticked further south than recent model guidance, but it is further north. It almost gets the snow all the way up to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and it really explodes the moisture further north at first, and then collapses it all south. and just a nasty, just wintry mess along the Texas coastline. You wouldn't get a whole lot of snow out of this if the NAM is correct. Now listen, I want you guys in Houston and surrounding areas to listen to me here for a second. I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer, but look, the NAM sniffed out that warm nose pretty well in the last storm for areas further north of you. So I would keep expectations in check. I'm going to show you some zoomed in images of what the National Weather Service is saying for Houston and stuff like that. But, the NAM is showing a nasty warm nose, meaning you might sacrifice a lot of snow for sleet. So just keep that in the back of your mind. Let's hope that does not happen for you folks. But let's look at, and where are you, Louisiana? There you are. Here's Louisiana and southern Mississippi, and here it comes. This is Tuesday afternoon, just a heavy snowstorm. It's not going to be super long lasting. It's Tuesday afternoon, moves in Tuesday morning. But once again, it shows that wintry mess. Not as much snow down here for southern Louisiana. Heck, even it's trying to sneak up to the Mississippi coastline. And it does look like eventually everything crashes the snow. But man, I can't get over this. This is heavy, heavy snow, guys. And like Baton Rouge over to, almost all the way up to Meridian. Hattiesburg, it's snowing like crazy in this frame. And then it heads on out. So what about the graphics? So this is the National Weather Service out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. You're going for about an inch or less, and that's about the northern extent of it. Once you get south, down the interstate here, you start to run a little bit higher of a risk of snow, but you really got to get way down here into like Livingston, Centerville, Conroe, however way you pronounce that, Lufkin, before you start to get into actually some forecast accumulating snow in this area. So not expecting much in this area in general, but listen, sorry, I'm trying to fight a sneeze, guys. So if you're like, dude, what's this guy making some weird noises for? Fighting some sneezes. I'm a little under the weather here this morning, but do not be surprised if this does something tricky for up here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Don't be surprised at all. We'll see what happens. National Weather Service out of Austin, San Antonio. Hey, you got winter storm watches here going for an inch or less. But once you get down the Interstate 10 corridor, east, 1 to 2 inches of snow is forecast. Kyle to Austin, 1 to 2 inches of snow. LaGrange, 2 to 3. And there is a shot at some ice in this area. A few 1/100ths of an inch of ice, maybe as high as a 1/10 of an inch of ice. So let's be aware of that. And then we look at Houston. Man, check this out. Houston going for 2 to 3 inches of snow. Liberty, 4 to 5. Beaumont, 4 to 5. Woodville, 4 to 5. Jasper around 4 inches. Livingston around 4 inches of snow. Lake Charles, you can see that in the graphic too, 5 inches of snow. This is historic type stuff. You haven't seen stuff like this in a while. I know Houston had a winter storm back in, 2021, but it was very quick hitter. It didn't last very long. Not saying this is going to last like 2 or 3 days or anything like that, but this has an opportunity to be mainly snow. But there is an ice forecast of this. Let's see what it's showing here. Could get a little bit of ice. Could get more than what it's showing. A few 1/100ths of an inch of ice, especially south and southwest of Houston. We'll see what happens with that. And then we start to get into the Arklatex area. Shreveport going for 2/10 of an inch of snow. You're right on the northern fringe of it. You head on down the interstate point south. Some of the communities down here, they got a weird color layout here. I don't know what's up with this, but they're definitely different than most National Weather Services. But you start to get into the range of a couple inches once you get south of Shreveport and Texarkana and stuff like that. Not expecting much ice in this area. Once you get deeper down here into the National Weather Service out of Lake Charles area, going for around 5 inches there. Lafayette, 5 inches. Alexandria, 2 to 3. Hopefully you can see your town on this map. Cameron, the Gulf coastline, 3 to 4 inches. Pecan Island, however way you say pecan, either way, 2 to 3 inches of snow is forecast. There could be some ice in this area. Let's look at the ice forecast. A few 1/100ths of an inch of ice is possible. So maybe a little glaze. And then more highly populated area. Baton Rouge, 3 to 4. New Orleans, 2 to 3. Slidell, 3 to 4. Hammond, 3 inches of snow. Macomb up into Mississippi, 3 inches. Centuryville, 3 to 4 inches. Gulfport, 2 to 3. Man, just crazy, right? Homa 1 to 2, getting down here, way down south of New Orleans. It's just crazy. It's crazy. My mind's blown with this. I'm excited for you guys. I am. We look at the ice forecast in this area and they don't have anything updated, so that's unfortunate, but we'll keep rolling. National Weather Service out of Jackson. I mean, they're going for, and listen, this is the interesting part of this to me, is a lot of models don't have heavy snow making it up to Jackson and Meridian, that I-20 corridor. But the National Weather Service, as of the 1 a.m. update, which was, several hours ago, going for around 1 to 2 inches of snow around that I-20 corridor. Once you get north of that, probably a less than an inch. At Hattiesburg, around 3 inches. Vicksburg, around 2. So we'll see what happens. How far north does it get? Or does it keep it down south? Not much ice expected in this area. And now, let's talk about my folks here in the Southeast. And this is where I live. If you're a first-time viewer, I live in Central South Carolina. I'm a huge snow lover. So we're going to make it through this. For a lot of people, it's good news if you're a winter weather fan. For a lot of other people, it's not the best news, but we still got time. So let's start off. I want to mention that this is Tuesday morning up here. Look at the timestamp, around 6 to 7 a.m. So we're January the 21st. So this is in 48 hours. Don't have a lot more time to shift one way or the other, but there's still time. So let's move it into about midday Tuesday. Snow's starting to move. We're going to talk about Alabama points east now. Not going to speak on Mississippi or anybody points west anymore. Snow's starting to move into southwestern Alabama. Snow's starting to move into the western panhandle of Florida. Okay, moderate to even heavy snow. We got this little area, this kind of finger, if you will, of snow trying to make it all the way to the Georgia-South Carolina line. We even got a little bit of light snow making into Atlanta. It's going to be cold, so I don't think it'll have any issues accumulating if it can actually pick up a pretty decent rate. Okay, then we make it into Tuesday evening. The snow on the Euro tries to make it all the way up to the mountains of Georgia, the upstate of South Carolina, into areas of North Carolina. But the heaviest stuff, no doubt, is down here in southern Alabama, and this is Tuesday evening, 6, 7 p.m., southern Alabama. It is pouring snow in the western panhandle of Florida. The heavier snow in the darker blue is starting to move into southwestern Georgia. Columbus, point south, Auburn, Alabama, Panama City, Pensacola. But look at the snow starting to move into the Midlands of South Carolina. Some snow tries to make it. Well, it does. It looks like it makes it all the way to the North Carolina coastline. Even some light snow overspreads into the Piedmont of North Carolina, all the way up into Charlotte. How heavy will this snow be? So I want to stop this image right here and talk about this for a second. And this is a big question mark. And you can read the discussions from local national weather services. They're discussing it. They, the one here in Columbia where I live, they mentioned that a lot of times with these coastal lows, which is what this is, they have a southeastern bias, meaning model guidance likes to show it being further southeast than what it actually ends up happening. So what they're basically saying is, but not directly saying, is, hey, there is the potential that this could be further west than what's showing. And I will say this, the Euro is the furthest west almost out of all model guidance. So I'm showing you the best first, okay? So you keep this going. This is heavy snow in central Georgia. This is more of a wintry mess down in southern Georgia. And there will be a cutoff somewhere in the panhandle of Florida where you're getting all heavy snow and just a wintry mix. And I think maybe Tallahassee is in that wintry mix. It's all rain down for the peninsula of Florida. You take it one more frame. This is the middle of the night, Tuesday night and a Wednesday. There is a sharp cutoff of snow somewhere. Who is it going to be? Is it going to be Charlotte, Greenville, Spartanburg? Is it going to be Atlanta? Heck, is it going to be Macon? Is it going to be Columbia? I don't know. But there'll be a sharp cutoff between snow and no snow. And there'll be a sharp cutoff, between the heavier snow and just very light snow, I think. And you can see it really well in the Euro. It looks like it's cutting through south central Georgia, through the eastern Midlands of South Carolina, through the eastern Sandhills and the coastal regions of North Carolina. How far north does the snow get in like southeastern VA? But it's snowing pretty hard, and it's cold. It's very cold, and it's snowing. It looks like in Charleston up to Myrtle Beach, Wilmington, eastern North Carolina, the Outer Banks, and then it cranks up even more at the last second. And man, that is one heck of a cutoff between heavy snow and just very light snow. And then you got this icing event ongoing in northern Florida, southern Georgia. This is something we have to watch. And I just want to like zoom into the Carolinas here and Georgia. I can't, if this actually happens, this is a band of really heavy snow right at the tail end of the system. It's like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And this would dump a few inches of quick, heavy snow in a pretty short amount of time, I think, as it's pulling out along the eastern Carolinas. But you see, and this is where I live, we're right on the edge here in Columbia. I know I got a lot of people tuning in from Columbia because that's where I started talking about weather. But you keep going, and I mean, even as you're waking up Wednesday morning, you still got snow along the coastline, and then finally it heads on out. And then we got to watch a system behind this, and we'll kind of take it back to the southeastern shot here, and, we got to watch some more moisture that builds up. I really think there's the potential for another coastal system to pop up Thursday and Friday, and that's just something to watch for now with a reinforcing shot of cold air that might move in. So we'll see. Now, let's talk about the GFS. The GFS lost the storm a couple days ago, and it continues to just not really have much of a storm. Heck, it doesn't even bring much snow for the areas that are showing a lot of snow for the Europe. So here we go. We move in time. Remember just talking about Alabama points east. So snow begins to move into Mobile, into the panhandle of Florida. We keep this going. Snow tries to make it as far north as Birmingham. It's a city I haven't mentioned much, but Birmingham right on the fringe. Snow's moving into southwest Georgia. And then the snow tries to get into central Georgia. A little bit of snow shower activity tries to get into central South Carolina. Starts to snow along the coastal areas late Tuesday evening. And, the snow tries to make it all the way up to Columbia. It's very close. And just very light stuff. What's wild to me is it does look like model guidance has a pretty sharp cutoff between pretty heavy precipitation and light precipitation. Now, the expansion of the light precipitation could be further back west, but where is the heavier stuff going to be, right? So brings some snow all the way up into Columbia, central Georgia, but I mean, it just doesn't make it very far north and hangs most of the snow out, in central Georgia, the western panhandle of Florida, and then eventually, into the Carolina coastline. But it doesn't bring much snow at all, folks, until like the North Carolina coastline. And, it's kind of weird what it does because the GFS tries to beef up the moisture, and it's done this a couple runs in a row, and I don't think a lot of people are picking up on this, but it tries to beef up the moisture again midday Wednesday and kind of just keeps a very long duration light snow event for southeastern Georgia into the South Carolina and southeastern North Carolina coastline. And then we got to watch that. See the little thing that pops up after that? That is something to watch too that could end up being something to watch. And once again, it's kind of Thursday-ish into Friday. That's that secondary low that could pop up. Cold air still in place. Where will it be, though? And that could deliver something too. So now we broke that down for entirely too long, right? So this is the Euro ensemble, which has continued to tick south, but it continues to show a good bit of snow for the areas that it showed snow at on the latest Euro that I just showed you. So it has this swath in blue for 2 inches or more of snow. I mean, starting from southern Alabama, the panhandle of Florida, the southern half of Georgia, a nice swath of 2 to almost 5 inches of snow. And then you look at sections of South Carolina. You see that the eastern half of South Carolina, the low country, in some areas, it has a 5-inch snowfall average in Myrtle Beach. And then eastern North Carolina, same deal here. But speaking on like my areas further inland, like Atlanta, the Columbia, the Charlotte, there's a sharp cutoff. And, if I'm being honest, if you compare this to the overnight run, I mean, it has ticked south again. But the thing I'm noticing is it's not that we're losing the snow, like the heavier snow like the GFS is showing. It's more so that just the axis of where the snow is going to be is just kind of pivoting. Now it's continued to tick south, but what I'll tell you is this still has room to come back north. And I know I'm kind of injecting hope into everybody, and I don't want that to interfere in what I'm trying to forecast. But I'm going to cling to hope here in Columbia that this has a shot to come back north at the last second. And a big storm analog that I keep bringing up is January 2022, the last time we had accumulating snow here in Columbia. We lost the storm 48 hours out from it. I mean, completely lost it. It was gone. It looked like all hope was lost. It was a Wednesday. The storm happened on a Friday night. Kind of same deal, right? You know, it's Sunday, right? The storm's going to hit pretty much Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday night. And then, you know, it was terrible trends all day. And then all of a sudden, the next day, Thursday before the storm, which in this case it would be Monday, this thing came roaring back. And it has the potential to do that here, but it also has the potential to not happen at all. So there's a sharp cutoff. Now the GFS ensemble, we'll talk about this for a second. It's just pathetic looking for snow fans outside that main belt. I mean, heck, you know, you compare this to that. That's a massive difference, right? They're still just not agreeing. But one thing I noticed from the GFS ensemble run current to the one at OOZ is, I mean, sure, the axis of heavier snow is a little bit further north, but I mean, don't pay too much attention to this. I want you to watch this area right here. Watch how on the 06Z it kind of gets beefed up. So that tells me that I think in the next couple runs, at least speaking from my coastal folks, it's going to start to show more snow in this area. That's my take. That's what I think. And of course, you still got the Canadian, which, no, that's not what I'm saying. You got the Canadian ensemble, which is still showing good. But I'm going to tell you, and I haven't read the comments in about a day and a half, I'm going to tell you, the Canadian folded like an omelet. I mean, it just completely folded. It folded terribly. So, you know, honestly, I've lost some respect to this model. I thought it was going to hold its own. I mean, it's still delivering blows down here of snow down here in Louisiana and Mississippi. But, you know, just for it to go from showing this, when was this? 24 hours ago to showing this, that's pretty sad. So it kind of lost my respect somewhat with this storm. Now let's talk about what the official National Weather Service forecast totals are for this storm so far. This was the update, you know, going for about 0.2 of an inch of snow in Birmingham. But once you get south, Interstate 65, certainly, you know, Troy, a couple inches, Montgomery, 1.5 inches, Auburn, a couple inches of snow. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, they don't have a graphic for Mobile. And I'm not sure why, but they do have this that we can look at. Mobile going for around 2 inches of snow as of right now. Pensacola around 1 inch. So we'll see what happens. But then we look at the National Weather Service out of Tallahassee. Pretty wild. Talking about winter weather down here. Pensacola around 1 inch. Bruton 2 inches. Tallahassee 1 inch or less. We could get a little ice down here though. A few 100ths of an inch of ice is certainly likely. Could even get over 1/10 of an inch of ice. And then check it out. Now, this is what gets me. Okay, National Weather Service out of Georgia. Going for almost 1 inch of snow. And this was updated around 4 a.m. I tell you what, the National Weather Service out of Georgia does a fantastic job of providing constant updates. But I mean, they're trying to call for almost 1 inch in Atlanta, which I would argue places like Columbia has a better shot at snow than Atlanta. But southwestern Georgia is going to be the hot spot, I think, a couple inches. But I mean, look at this. This is nice. I'm very happy for my folks in central Georgia. I think this is going to work out for you guys. Macon going for around 2 inches. Swainsboro, you know, just mentioning a couple areas. Could be some ice with this too, but not much. And then we go down to Jacksonville. I mean, just crazy stuff. Valdosta, maybe 1 inch or less. Douglas around 1 inch. Not calling for anything in Lake City to Jacksonville, but certainly could change. But the ice forecast down here, they don't have a graphic up, so that stinks. But in general, just to show everybody else, and I'm just going to provide a little bit of hopium, is what the cool kids say these days. You know, the blend of all models, which I think is a little bit lagged, still wants to give a nice swath of accumulating snow for areas where the models are hardly showing nothing, and that's like, you know, Augusta to Columbia. Heck, even gives over 1 inch in Charlotte, the Greenville-Spartanburg area. So, you know, you got that. You also have stuff like, and I'm just providing a little bit of hope. It's not necessarily Mitch saying, hey, this is just what's going to happen. And then you got the Shref, which blends a lot of short-range model guidance together, and it does show a much further north kind of band of accumulating snow. But I don't know how right that's going to be, because, they're forecasting several inches of snow in southern Louisiana. If this is correct, you guys wouldn't get really anything. So, but the last thing, I'll leave it with this, and then we'll give you an update for the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast, is they issued this graphic a few hours ago from the National Weather Service, NOAA, 4:17 a.m., and it's throwing a lot of people for a loop, because the graphic, I'm not going to sit here and say it's misleading, because they're the experts, which kind of provides me a little bit more hope. But it's wild to me that, here's the icon, right? The white you see here, let's zoom into this a little bit more. Okay, the white you see here, that's where it just says snow. But then the white area with kind of the gray and white dashes going in between, it says heavy snow possible. And I mean, folks, this goes all the way up to Atlanta through Columbia, almost all the way up to Charlotte through Raleigh. But, we just went through all that model guidance, and it's like, well, that doesn't make much sense. Right? So the last thing I also will show you is this. I mean, they just issued this several hours back, and I mean, they got the blue outline all the way up through the entire state of South Carolina for snow. So what does this tell us? Well, to me, it tells me that the National Weather Service, the folks there, are experts for a reason, right? And it pretty much tells me that they're not just wholesale buying into the models and saying, okay, this is exactly what's going to happen. They're going off experience, their expertise, and to me, this is telling me that they really think that this could be a little bit further north and west than what is being depicted by model guides. Now, it doesn't mean they're going to ignore model guides. They're seeing the trends just like we do. So when you look at this graphic, you're saying, gosh, what are they, like 3 days behind? No. They look at all the model guidance just like we do. But they're not going to bounce back and forth like we do. Emotionally, I guess you would say. They're going to hold strong. I will tell you this, and then we're going to talk about the Northeast and the Mid-Atlantic. I have never seen, since actively forecasting the weather, us have a storm showing up. For example, I'm going to use the I-20 corridor up to the I-95 corridor, which kind of bends like this and then goes like that. I have never seen, and I'm speaking more so for you folks, I've never seen a storm consistently show up for the most part, and then once we get under 80 hours, it just completely lose it to the south. To the south. I've seen us whiff to the south, but like I think January 3rd, 2018 is a great example of that. We whiffed to the south here in Columbia, South Carolina. Our friends here in the coastal areas got a nice snowstorm, but the models never really showed it further west. This is a little different. So I just want to keep that in mind, and I know I'm trying to provide a little bit of excess hope here, but I found myself praying like crazy for snow more than I ever have in my life, and I think it's just because it's this close, and it's like, dang, you don't put so much energy into it. Please, please let this happen. So, I found myself praying for snow, and I'm sure a lot of people have already been praying. So I'll round this off. Definitely asking for prayers for a little snow at my residence here in Columbia, South Carolina. It would be awesome, phenomenal. I think a lot of people have already been praying, and not just for me. There's a lot of other people too. There's a lot of kids that's never seen it. This is such a golden opportunity for many people, and it's really going to stink if we get the rug pulled out from under a lot of us. Not just me. It's not all about me, but from a lot of us. So anyways, enough of that rambling and crying. An update on the Northeast and the Mid-Atlantic. So we're starting off this morning, already snow breaking out in areas of Kentucky. And then this is pretty much the evolution of the storm. By the time we get into this afternoon, we got heavy snow over areas of West Virginia, Maryland. It's starting to snow in D.C. And then we start to move this into the Northeast as we're getting into this evening. It's snowing like crazy in New York City, snowing in Boston, southern New England, and just all the way up the I-95 corridor. This has turned into a nice snow event for you guys. And I feel like this storm is a great example. I would say a few days ago, it didn't look like that big of a deal. Now this has turned into a heavy-hitting winter storm. It's just not going to last long, but it's going to drop several inches of snow on a lot of these people. And we keep this going all the way into Monday morning. Still snowing up in Maine, down east areas of Maine, and then it's done. By the time we get into Monday afternoon, this thing's on out of here. Only a 36-hour event from start to finish. So Eastern Kentucky, this is what you're looking at. Guys, if you're tuning in from this area, I would just pause the screen. Not going to spend a whole lot of time mentioning towns and cities. But this is Eastern Kentucky. This is what it's looking like in general. A few to several inches, but it's already starting for you guys. This is the National Weather Service out of Southwest Virginia. Boone, a more highly populated area. Mountain town, 2 to 3 inches of snow. We head up to West Virginia. Charleston, about 3 inches. Beckley, 5. Several more inches, though, up in the Allegheny Mountains. So a nice winter weather event for West Virginia. And then we head up into Northern Virginia and just areas of the D.C., Baltimore area. 2 to as much as 4 inches of snow. Not as much once you get into Central VA, but a nice snowstorm for winter weather fans. Nice, quick snowstorm will move into this area. And then we get up into PA. Not as much once you get in the northern, northwestern areas. And Pittsburgh can get 1 to 4 inches of snow. Allentown, 5 to 9. Harrisburg, 4 to 8. Hopefully you can see your area. Scranton, 4 to 9. So definitely a pretty, I would say, a pretty moderate winter storm, especially for eastern, southeastern PA. And then we look at our friends here in New Jersey and Delaware. Dover going for around 1 to 2. Jersey Shore, maybe an inch or so. You get up the Jersey Shore, 3 to 4 inches. Trenton, 4 to 6. Philadelphia, 4 to 6. And then once you get into this yellow area, it's certainly over a half a foot of snow forecasted. And then the New York City area going for about 4 to 6 inches of snow. Long Island, several inches. You get north into the yellow area, that is over a half a foot that is forecasted. And then the rest of New York, Watertown, this is lake effect stuff right here. But, you guys have not had time to talk about lake effect much, but Tug Hill Plateau, south of Buffalo, along Buffalo, is going to get hit pretty good. And Albany, around 4 inches of snow. Southern areas of Vermont, over a half a foot. Robin, you're going to get some substantial snow from this. And then southern New England, once again, you live in the yellow area. That's where they're going for over a half a foot of snow. But Boston now, they've increased it to 6 to 8. They've increased some of the snowfall totals for out in Cape Cod. So if you're a snow weather fan, hey, they've giving you a little bit more love. Hartford, 6 inches. And then, I'm forgetting the state, New Hampshire, yellow area, over a half a foot of snow forecasted. Certainly, once you get into the southern portion of the state, you're going to get more. And then for my friends in Maine, to wrap this up, down east areas of Maine is going to get your biggest winter storm of the year, where you're going to get 8 to 12 inches of snow that's forecasted. Caribou, more so 4 to 6. That's all I got, guys. Thank you for getting through this video with me. I am tired, a little bit under the weather. Energy is a little bit down also. I'd probably feel a little bit more juiced up if we had better trends overnight, but a little bit down in the dumps over what we're seeing here in my neck of the woods in the south. Was very, very excited to track all weekend, and I still am, but, it just takes a little bit of energy. When you put so much energy into this, the passion sort of just overrides anything else. You don't even pay attention to how much money you're making. You don't pay attention to the growth of all the channels and stuff. You really just love the passion, which is the weather, what's falling from the sky. I feel like people who do this, like when I'm doing that, just pretty much loses the love for weather. I feel like in a way they, kind of lose themselves to the money aspect of things and the growth of all your channel stuff. And to me, I just love the weather. I rally behind everybody else, that love it too. So let's hope that some things change, for my folks here in the Southeast over the next several hours and couple days. And hopefully we'll get, a dramatic shift by the time we do a video tonight. So God bless all y'all. Have a wonderful day. And I appreciate y'all very much. I'm very behind on comments, and I don't think I'm going to get caught up with them until probably next week, to be honest with you. So sorry about that, guys. Love y'all. Appreciate y'all. Have a good day.